I've got a friend, don't really know him that well, guys, but anyway, he's got a lot of money, and he said to me, you know what? What luxury electric car should I buy? And this got me to thinking, because I honestly didn't have an answer for him. I thought, well, there's this, there's that, there's what should you buy? Now, I said to him, what kind of size car do you want? He said, well, something to fit my family, something pretty big, but with a lot of range. Now, he wanted a lot of range. That was his prerequisite. Had to have more than 600 kilometers of range. So, basically 400 miles of range or more. Well, this is what I suggested to him. And he's telling me now that, he likes it, he's a fan, and he might actually buy one. Now, guys, what I want to know is what you think of this choice this suggestion that I've offered this friend of mine. I'm not going to say his name, but mate, you know who you are. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. I'll be at the Melbourne EV show in August, on the 10th and the 11th of August. 10th and the 11th. You can get cheap tickets if you click on the link in the description below. I'll be speaking on both days, guys. Would love to catch up with you if you want to. And yeah, there is a few people I'll be catching up with there. Make sure you come. It's going to be great because there's going to be Xpeng cars, about 4 different models from Xpeng, a bunch of different cars. Polestar 3, a bunch of different models. Speaking of the Polestar 3, well, that was the car that I suggested to my well-heeled, as in my friend who has a fair bit more money than I do. And that's why I wouldn't buy one of these myself. They're a bit out of my price range. I mean, for example, this car starts at 130,000 Australian dollars in Australia. In America, they start around 75,000 US dollars. So yeah, it's not a cheap car, but it is big and it has the range he wants. And to be honest, he wants more of a luxury type car. Now, there are a couple of options here, guys, in this segment that you can look at. I mean, really, there's the BMW iX, there's the Audi Q8 e-tron, and there's the Mercedes EQE SUV. And then, of course, the Polestar 3. Now, out of those 4 cars, in my opinion, the Polestar 3 is better than the BMW iX, the Audi Q8, and the Mercedes EQE. It looks better, has a good amount of range, good luxury. It's not really in your face. That's what I like about it. It's very subtle styling, kind of like subtle luxury. So the launch edition in the UK costs around £75,000. So you can buy these in the UK as well. So yeah, I mean, really, this is not a cheap car by any sense of the imagination. However, there is now a model that has the 2025 model, single motor, rear-wheel drive, has plenty of power. I mean, it's 200 kilowatt, but to be honest, it's more power than you need really in an EV. But it does have the ability to charge pretty quickly. It's got 250 kilowatt charging speed and 650 kilometers of range from a 111 kilowatt hour battery pack. So that's a big battery, right? That's a big advantage for these cars, right? That kind of range, 650 kilometers, which is, more than 400 miles of range. I really don't think you're ever going to think to yourself, nah, I wish I bought something else. The range isn't good enough. I wish I bought a petrol car, gas car, diesel, whatever. You're never going to think that with this kind of range. So that's a big benefit here. And I've heard from owners, I've been on a few forums here, Polestar. Before I made this video, I went and thought, I'll check out the forums. I checked out a few comments from owners. They're saying that they are getting that kind of range from this car. They're getting the advertised range in the real world. And yeah, I mean, with a battery pack that size, that seems realistic. Now, prices here in Australia, I mean, it's not cheap. The cheapest model is about $130,000, but that is the dual motor version. That's not rear-wheel drive like you get in the US. That's the dual motor version. Now, there is a long-range dual motor version with Plus Pack that costs 144,000 Australian dollars. There is also the long-range dual motor with Performance Pack. That's 144,000 as well. And there is the Polestar 3 long-range dual motor with Plus and Performance Packs, $156,000. I think that's pushing a little bit in terms of the price, getting up there to the point where I think I wouldn't recommend that model. The base model, though, I think is worth having a look at. Now, when you look at these cars, they definitely are luxurious. There's gold accents in them. There's all the little details you can think of Polestar have really looked into. Now, it is true, guys, I've seen some of these cars come off the production line. In China, personally, I went to the factory, and Geely make these cars using a similar architecture to other Geely EVs. But because they use the same SPA2 architecture, that doesn't mean that they're the same car as other Geely vehicles. For starters, total power output is 483 horsepower, 840 newton meters of torque. So yeah, about 380 kilowatt. That's quite a lot of power. Now, looking around at reviews for these cars, guys, apparently they're doing about 5 seconds or about 4.7 seconds with the performance pack. But anyway, the standard dual motor, 5 seconds, 0 to 62 miles an hour, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. That's fast. Top speed is 130 miles an hour. Yeah, I don't think you need any more power than that. But here's the thing. Car and Driver, they reviewed this vehicle, the Polestar 3. They gave it 8.5 out of 10. That's a pretty good score. I've looked at other reviews from other major car journalists. They've given it some pretty good reviews as well. So I'm not feeling like I've told my mate, buy this thing. I wouldn't mind one if I won the lottery. I'd probably consider buying one of these for sure. I don't feel like I've given him the wrong information here. This is a pretty big car as well. It's 4.9 meters long. So yeah, it's significantly bigger than something like a Tesla Model Y. It's more like a large luxury electric SUV. Now, speaking of weight, how heavy actually are these cars? Well, they weigh 2,670 kilograms. But because of that weight is down very low in the car, I've driven some heavy EVs that are about that weight. In fact, even heavier than that, I've driven the Zeekr 009, which is obviously a large MPV, 5.3 meters long. You honestly don't really feel that weight. And I don't think people realize that until they drive an EV. They don't realize that because that weight is spread evenly across the base of the car, not like an engine which sits up higher and is obviously all that weight in the front of the car. Because it's evenly spread out, the weight distribution being so low to the ground and so even, it makes it feel like it's completely different. When you go around a corner, you really don't feel the same amount of weight. It makes sense, doesn't it? When you go around a corner, you don't have all this weight moving because of the lower center of gravity. Now, one of the cool things this car does have that's worth pointing out, it has dual chamber air suspension with adaptive dampers. So you can actually change the way that suspension adapts to you, which I think is a really, really nice feature. In addition to that, it has 3 options. It's got standard, nimble, and firm. And when it comes to things like software, Polestar are bringing out new software updates. They're upgrading the vehicle with software changes and things. I actually don't know too much in that respect of what it's like owning this car. I don't know anyone personally that owns this car. So I don't know if they're getting over-the-air software updates, but Polestar has said that they will be. Now, Polestar claims that the efficiency of this large car is 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour. Now, for context, Mercedes said that the EQE SUV is rated at 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour. The range is about 400 miles for the dual motor version. But really the biggest takeaway here for me looking at this car, looking at videos, looking at images, is really the interior. I think the interior is just nicer than its rivals in this price point. The minimalism, the style, the luxury. Now, yeah, it looks amazing. Would you pay this much? Would the average person pay this much? No, but the average person doesn't buy, an expensive BMW, Audi, or to be honest, any EV that costs this price range. This car is clearly not made for the average person. It's made for someone who, unlike me, for example, guys, when someone bought the BMW X5 that I bought from them, they paid $130,000. The same price as this car. That's Australian dollars. When I bought it from them a few years later, I paid $25,000 a few years later. Now, this is obviously a long time ago, but my point is, people, they're not really so price sensitive in this category, in this segment. And I think Polestar know that. Polestar also are trying to add in all those extra little features that are going to make buyers choose one of these instead of a BMW, a Mercedes, or an Audi. And to be honest, quite genuinely, I'd pick this over those other 3 cars. I know not everyone's going to agree with me though. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.